according to science, has become a new religion. And it feels like that if anyone as much as mention a scientific review, we should all believe it as the ultimate truth. But what if I told you that science could be lying to you? I've spent 7 years at university with a bachelor's degree in sports science and a physiotherapist certification, going through thousands of studies. And as an elite performance specialist working with world-class athletes on a daily basis, I think I know more about the literature than most. However, in this video, I'll show you the primary reasons why following scientific advice could actually be hindering your progress. And then I'll show you a superior way to get truly remarkable results with anything in life. What I'm about to show you is what allowed me to become a world-class athlete, and I've seen it work with countless of world-class performers across my career. But I warn you, you'll never look at science the same way again. Let me ask you this. If one person out of 1 million people took a pill and they had no side effects, but you did not know if the other 1 million people would have any side effects, would you take it? In most studies, that is exactly what's happening. Even if the sample size is 1,000 people, which is a large study, a lot of people tend to generalize that conclusion to the entire population of 7 billion people. And to make things worse, often when we do science experiments, there will be outliers. That means someone who responds very well to this intervention or someone who does not respond at all or very little to this intervention. Most conclusions, however, are based upon the averages of those people, which means that you might respond extremely well to this type of intervention or you might not respond at all. There is a fix to this issue, which I'll get to in a moment. But first, let's talk about funding. In 2015, New York University nutrition professor Marion Nessel began tracking studies funded by food and beverage companies. Her research uncovered 168 studies in 2015 alone, and of those 168 studies, 156 showed biased results that favored the sponsor's interests. How insane is that? While we all like to believe that research is unbiased, the reality is that research has to be funded, and the companies that fund it tend to only publish results that favor their product in some way, which is why you have to look at the funding every time you read a research paper. They might not have your best interest at heart. There are a ton of other things that I could mention in this video, like statistical misinterpretation or an over-reliance on p-values, but I don't want to bore you, and it all leads to the same question. Can we use the scientific literature for anything? Yes. Quite a lot, actually. In fact, I read studies every single day and I use a lot of it in my work with elite athletes. However, to make the maximum amount of progress, we need to couple it with an extremely powerful tool, and I'm gonna show you how. Imagine two people who start training. Both of them want to gain muscle and start with the scientific research, so they do 10 to 20 sets per muscle group per week. They also train close to failure or to failure on most sets. One of the athletes decides to write down his progress and the other does not. After 8 weeks, the first athlete decides to switch it up, so instead of doing 20 sets per week, he only do 8 sets per muscle group per week, just to see what happens. The other athlete continued to do 20 sets per week. After another 8 weeks, the first athlete found that he was making more progress with only 8 sets per week than he was when he was doing 20 sets per week. So he keeps doing 8 sets, but now he has a little more time in the gym, so he decides to do some HIIT training in the end of every workout. After 1 year, the first athlete became significantly better than the guy who just followed science, because he figured out exactly what worked for him and what made him progress faster. You see, science is a great starting point, and it should be your starting point because it tells us a lot about what works for most people. Remember, you are not an average human being. You are unique. From there, we need to track our progress and keep experimenting to find those little tweaks that makes us significantly better than anyone else. But even though you have to experiment, you need to start somewhere. So to make sure you can take advantage of the best ways to start building muscle, you can watch this video here where I'll show you how we make world-class athletes build muscle extremely fast.